Back when I heard that Disney was going to be redoing Star Wars films, I was excited because I had this thing in my head that they were going to take the universe that we knew and keep it the way that Star Wars was, but give us new films. And I was just ready to see like new adventures. You know, the first thing that came to my mind was Boba Fett. I want to see Boba Fett back when he started, how his character developed, and that droid standing next to him. You know what droid I'm talking about? Weird looking head. Now I'm talking back when I was a kid. Now I know what unit it is now, but I didn't know back then. And I would pause a tape that I had of Star Wars, and I'd look at Boba Fett being my favorite character and see the IG unit standing next to him, not even knowing that it was called an IG unit. I don't even know if it was back then, for God's sakes. But I said to myself, I'd love to see how that thing fights. And then I ended up realizing these are other bounty hunters. And I said, man, imagine a Star Wars movie where we've got all these bounty hunters. As I got older, I realized I'm never going to see anything else Star Wars unless I watch fan films, unless I watch comic books or read comic books and other things. You know, and it was kind of depressing. And that's why when I heard that it was going to be remade, I said to myself, you know, the first movie they're going to do, that shit's going to be Boba Fett. I bet you it's going to be Boba. Well, we didn't get Boba as the first movie. We ended up getting these new 3 movies. And I'll be honest, when I watched the first one, I was really forgiving. It wasn't that I really liked the Force Awakens and Rey and all that, but I was just really forgiving, you know, just wanting new movies in the Star Wars universe so bad. I was willing to take what I saw and say, okay, fine. If it doesn't get worse than this, cool. Everybody knows what happened with the second movie. Everybody knows what they did to Luke Skywalker. Everybody already has this in their head, so I'm not even going to hit it right now. I'll do some videos on it some other time. But one thing that I like about The Mandalorian, and that's what we're talking about today, I like that The Mandalorian is different. I like that they have a creative image. They got this creative thing in their mind. They know what they want. They want to combine Star Wars, but it almost needs to be like Wild West. And who's the perfect character to do that with? Of course, Boba Fett. Now, let me get into what I like about it. Then I'll get into what I think we're going to see in the rest of the series. And this will be kind of like my reaction, but also my review. But then again, I've tried to script this like 6 times. I'm just crumbling up the script, and I'm going straight in. So what I like, what I don't like, and where I think this is going to go. I like basically the art style, the direction. I like that they took the time in the end crawl, you know, to actually put in drawn images from what we're seeing. You know, those little details mean a lot. I like the fact that they are using old Star Wars, you know, machines and ideas. You get me? In the new movies, it's almost like Rey can just pick up a lightsaber and know how to use it. But Luke Skywalker couldn't do that, and no one else could do that. And that was the thing about George Lucas, right? And I think it's a time period thing. George Lucas lived back before phones, and he lived the majority of his life with not this advanced technology that we have. And he had to dream about what advanced technology would be. And I think that's why we got such a great image of the rickety kind of like 60s, 70s theme to a starship, right? Imagining Han Solo fixing up his Millennium Falcon by grabbing some parts and working it together, and then seeing Chewie do it. You know, those types of things are what all came together to make it believable. It made it imaginative. It let us put ourselves into his shoes and be like, you know, I could do it. That's what I would do if I was in the Millennium Falcon. I'd get up in there and I'd fix it myself. You know, I'd be traveling the stars. I'd be seeing everything, right? But back to The Mandalorian. I'm going to try to keep this focused. I just got so much to say about everything that's happened, and this is my first time talking about it really in a long time. But one other thing I like about The Mandalorian, not just the fact that they have rickety kind of machines instead of like with the Force Awakens, everything's new, right? I like how with the machinery and the way that Boba Fett fixes up his armor and his weapons, I like that it's basic. I like that we don't have these new bombers and they don't take what's already there and try to make it into this new thing that they're trying to do for like the whole Force Awakens thing. They respect the original canon. Now, I know some people are going to disagree with me on certain things, but they do, okay? They did in The Mandalorian, at least this far, and I don't think they're going to abandon it now. It's what gives me hope for The Mandalorian. And yes, I am willing to say that the first couple episodes aren't the best thing ever, but they are really good. They are really good. And it's laying the framework for us to see a great story. That's what matters in Star Wars. And that's what they lost in The Force Awakens in these trilogies. And it's going to be a train wreck, this last one. Bringing back the Emperor, I would go into a rant on that, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you my main gripe, and then I'll get back to The Mandalorian. If you bring back the Sith, if you bring back the Emperor, then everything was for nothing. Everything was for nothing, Disney, if you bring back the Emperor. That's the whole thing about Darth Vader. Darth Vader was the chosen one. He was going to end the Sith and bring peace and balance to the universe, and we thought he did, to the galaxy. We thought that he did. And now, basically, the Emperor just floated out into the depths of the galaxy and somehow managed to come back, even though he's not been present in the first two movies. They haven't led up to it whatsoever. It's not something about subverting our expectations. This is destroying everything about the original Star Wars. That's why on this channel, I refuse to look at The Force Awakens and those three movies as anything canon. And I still look at all the expanded universes canon. I'm not letting Disney tell me what to do when it comes to how I look at a franchise that I've made. Me and all the other people that grew up with this, loved this, bought this, lived this, wore the shirts. We are the ones that made this work. And Disney, you're not just going to come in and drop a few $1 billion and tell us what to think about this. No, we will reject you. But when it comes to The Mandalorian, back to The Mandalorian, it sucks that it's under the Disney banner, but obviously there's another team on it. There's another person on it, and he actually has some creative control. The other things I like about The Mandalorian, I like the actor, the guy in the suit. If you don't know, he's from Game of Thrones. I forget his name, but he's the guy who had his head smashed by the mountain. You know what I'm talking about. I really love that character. I really love the guy that played the character. I think he's one of the best actors on Game of Thrones, and it sucks that he only had that short run, but that's okay. I really like the other characters, not just the actors. Not the other actors do great. I'm not putting them down, but also the other characters that are in, not just Boba, but now save the blue guy in the beginning, which I did like the blue guy. You know who I'm talking about? The very beginning of The Mandalorian. Mandalorian goes to capture the blue guy, right? I liked him kind of, but he reminded me of the Orwell. That one funny guy on the Orwell that I don't think is even funny in any way. You get who I'm talking about? So it's not that I don't like the blue guy. It's just, I'd rather... I just don't like that connection to the Orwell. Anyway, okay, I'm ranting again. Speaking of the other characters, the little guy that rides the two-legged lizard dudes. That is a great idea because those two-legged lizards are part of the Star Wars universe, but we've never seen them in a Star Wars movie. So there was these offshoot Ewok movies that were made in the 80s, and I was a kid when I watched them, so I loved them. Now, if I go back and try to watch them now, I don't feel the same way. But at least back then, I loved them, and they were very imaginative, right? I swear, man, that those little two-legged lizards that the dude's riding, that he gets the Mandalorian to ride, I swear that those lizards are in the Ewok movies, or maybe they're in a different offshoot movie, but I can't think of what it would be, right? But that's a great idea. Take things we've already seen in other Star Wars movies or something that was barely glimpsed in a Star Wars movie and put it in The Mandalorian. That's what they should have done with The Force Awakens. That's what they should have done with these other movies because that links us to this. It gets us more invested into this. So rounding out, I don't want to spoil The Mandalorian for anybody, okay? But, when he runs into the IG unit, I'm going to play a little bit of video. I think I can get away with the smallest bit of video. You got the IG unit and the way it fights is awesome. It is excellent. It was well done. It was well choreographed. It was very good CGI. So yeah, I think that what they're doing with The Mandalorian is what they should have done with those three movies. And I think, man, Disney should issue an apology on the Force Awakens trilogy and admit that they messed up. You know why? Because now I don't know. When you guys can tell me in the comments, I don't know if George Lucas, when he wrote A New Hope. I think he did know what was going to happen through A New Hope and into the other 3 movies, even though he probably didn't think he would make the 3 movies. He probably thought he would just get to make the first Star Wars and that it would kind of just be okay, and it wouldn't do well or wouldn't do great, but it would do all right. So I think that that's the issue with Disney. When they sat down, they did not have some excellent writer come in and sit down and write out this opera. That's what George did. George had this whole opera in his mind, and that didn't get written for the Force Awakens and that trilogy. Got me? And they've admitted that. They veered off of it. I know you guys have already seen the other guys talk about it, so I'm not even going to go there. But what I'm saying is, it seems like in The Mandalorian, they know exactly where it's going to go. And I don't even think just for season 1. I think they know exactly where this thing's going to go. They probably outlined this whole thing, which is what they lacked in those 3 movies. Now, this is just my initial thing on The Mandalorian. Every time a new episode comes out, I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to do a video. I don't know if anyone's going to watch it. Hopefully the same people that watched my Game of Thrones breakdowns will watch my Star Wars Mandalorian breakdowns. And keep an eye on the channel, because I'm going to be doing this for lots of different movies and television. Just the ones that I think are worth talking about, whether they suck so bad that I'm going to talk about them, or whether they're so good that I'm going to talk about them. And, maybe I'll throw some reviews in. I thought about reviewing the Orwell, but nah, I'm not even going to hit that right now. Leave me some ideas in the comments if you want. This is UNIReviews. Thanks for watching.